Okay, I'm a little late on this one, but I guess if you've never seen it, hey, I'm right on time. Morbius, I want to say the latest, because as I record this, it is not the latest. A recent Marvel film, Morbius. As I record this, still playing all over the place. This is haunting the second feature slot of many, many drive-ins right now. This is one of those Marvel movies, but it's not like a Marvel movie. It's a movie that it takes place in the Marvel universe, but is made by, I believe, Sony and not Disney, who is making the majority of Marvel films right now. So this is a sort of a lesser-known character, Morbius, the living vampire, and it stars Jared Leto as a very ingenious doctor who studies rare blood disorders because he has one and he's extremely sick, and he grew up in an orphanage for sick kids with this sort of disorder, and he had a best friend who was also sick, and he vowed that one day he would go and find a cure for the both of them. And this leads him to extreme measures, including using the blood or the saliva of bats or vampire bats because they have the ability to coagulate blood, blah blah blah. He injects himself, turns himself into basically a living vampire. Creature, villain sort of thing. And then complications ensue. Does he give this curse to his best friend who he promised he would cure, or does he not and suffer himself? And does he cure himself? Who will survive and what will be left of them? So I've not really been a fan of these off-brand Marvel movies. I didn't like Venom. I didn't see the second Venom, although I heard some people thought it was a fun monster movie. And Morbius sort of fits into that dark Marvel thing, and I just didn't think it was very interesting. It felt like it should have maybe been a Disney Plus series. If it was a Disney Plus series and you had 6 one-hour episodes, this kind of felt like the first episode of one of those series. The villain's not very interesting. They keep doing this thing with CGI faces where those who have been injected with this serum, their face just kind of goes into being a vampire, then back out again, then goes in and goes out. And there's all this wispy, Nightcrawler, Bamfy kind of Mighty Mouse tails around everything, and just a whole lot of CG. It wasn't that interesting to me. Like, it wasn't good as a vampire movie. It wasn't good as a superhero movie. It wasn't good as like a dark Marvel thing to me. It just felt like a whole lot of nothing. Like I said, if it was the first episode of a show, if you cut this down to be about an hour and you set up who these characters are, and then it would get more interesting from there. It was a whole lot of origin, and there is a post-credit sequence or a mid-credit sequence that ties the film in with Spider-Man No Way Home and brings a character from the Spider-Man universe into this Morbius, sort of trying to promise a sequel or a team-up movie. I honestly would be surprised if that happens. I don't know that Morbius has done that well. Maybe it makes enough money to do that. Maybe the next one will be better. I didn't really care for the first Tom Holland Spider-Man movie, but I really liked what followed. I didn't care for the first Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, but I liked the second one. So there are chances at times for me where I like a sequel more than the original. But I saw Morbius in IMAX. Anything that could help. It didn't look good to me from all the trailers that I had been forced to sit through for months, more than once. And I don't know that I would say I hated Morbius or really severely disliked it. I just felt like when it was over, it just seemed really inconsequential. And honestly, when I was looking at titles that I had tried to get caught up on to review here, I saw Morbius and I was like, oh yeah, I saw Morbius. So your mileage may vary. Some people, I'm sure, dug this. I never read the comics, so I can't compare it to that. My opinion is not tainted by that. I just found it to be I really didn't like all the CGI and the morphing of faces all the time. I really didn't like all of the... And it's one of those movies where, much like, I want to say, the Edward Norton Hulk movie from long ago, it's kind of, to me, a hacky screenwriter thing where the hero and the villain are two sides of the same coin, or there's the inevitable line where it's like, hate me, you made me. Very tired of that, and Morbius kind of does that. So we'll see if we get another Morbius or Morbius showing up in another movie, and how much these will tie into the other more popular Marvel films. But I kind of feel like Morbius is going to join Venom as sort of that outer edges of the Marvel universe that aren't really essential viewing for the whole big picture, and some people like and a lot of people kind of forget ever existed.